Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. Under the control of his godly power, the black armor that was suspended in midair and the 6 hovering lights made a turn and flew toward Luo Feng. An ordinary true treasure armor, said Luo Feng. 6 ordinary true treasures weapons should be considered as a series. It has a value that is comparable to a senior true treasure weapon. Luo Feng stored the true treasures and then summoned a world ring to him from afar. This world ring had fallen to the floor immediately after Flourishing Light Horde leader was annihilated. Upon checking its contents, Luo Feng only found a dozen or more treasures and some other things. Their accumulated value was not even the value of an ordinary true treasure. After killing Flourishing Light Horde leader, Luo Feng gathered the loot from his victory. His human godly body was set ablaze to display his most powerful trump card, and was hence greatly consumed. However, there was his remote ocean body to supplement whatever was lacking. Thus, he was able to maintain a pinnacle condition. The moment Luo Feng spread his wings, he transformed into a beam of light and took off. His speed was neither too fast nor too slow. He maintained his flying speed near to the speed of light. His surroundings were quiet. There was no movement, no traces. No one would be able to tell that a universe overlord had just annihilated been at that very spot just moments before. The Northern Territory Alliance had an immensely large territory under its control, and within the starry sky where the purple smelting race lived in, there was a life planet that was dark red all over. The palace of Flourishing Light Horde leader could be found on that planet. The palace was not big, but it was considered to be one of the sacred grounds of the purple smelting race. The purple smelting race had a total of 6 existing universe overlords. Universe overlords were by far the strongest beings within the race, which was why the entire race was divided into 6 different territories, each managed and cultivated by these 6 universe overlords. From within the palace, several disciples and servants bowed in worship as they watched a faraway figure approaching. It was the body that Flourishing Light Horde leader had left behind before he made his way to the original star. This body was weak. But it was, after all, Flourishing Light Horde leader's consciousness, so it could still provide guidance to disciples and handle certain matters without a hitch. Flourishing Light Horde leader revealed a shocked expression. Suddenly, he was annihilated and dissipated into thin air. Horde leader, teacher, 3 disciples and a bunch of personal servants, who were waiting in the distance, were in great shock. The area surrounding this planet was in a sealed space, so even Flourishing Light Horde leader could not teleport and leave the planet. So how did his body suddenly disappear? Don't worry, there must be some very important matters that needed teacher's undivided attention, so he has retracted his godly consciousness. Then, of course, the body will disappear. Let's take a look at the tokens teacher gave us. Let's take a look at the tokens. The 3 disciples immediately took out the tokens. The tokens were all parts of a collection of Flourishing Light Horde leader's belongings. They were all items that had his life imprint. They were valuables that recognized their owners. Once these items were crushed, Flourishing Light Horde leader would sense the urgency and go to his disciples' rescue. The token has become an object without an owner. A high-pitched voice suddenly shouted from among the disciples. 2 other voices corresponded with the same comment, adding to the bleak and grim atmosphere. An object without a master. Mine too. An object without a master. The 3 disciples of the purple smelting race looked at one another, eyes filled with fear and uneasiness. They had no doubts about what this situation meant. For an object that recognizes its master, that were only 2 ways to reverse this recognition. One was for the master to personally remove his life imprint on the object, and the other was for the master to be killed. Since Flourishing Light Horde leader was not present, there was no way he could have personally removed his life imprints. Then the answer was undoubtedly that Flourishing Light Horde leader had been annihilated. Hurry up. We have to quickly notify the other Horde leaders. Quick. Immediately. Notify the higher-ups. 6 universe overlords oversaw the entire purple smelting race. If one got annihilated, it would be equivalent to the collapse of one of the race's pillars of support. This, to the purple smelting race, was a very scary blow. A short while later, 3 universe overlords of the purple smelting race, who had not entered the original star, came rushing over. First and foremost, they asked Flourishing Light Horde leaders' disciples questions about what happened. Then they dismissed all the disciples and servants. In the palace, the 3 universe overlords who took the form of purple crystal-skinned, 2-headed life forms stood in their designated spots. The atmosphere was suffocating. Flourishing Light was annihilated. Who could kill Flourishing Light? And to think he did not even have the chance to ask for help. Flourishing Light owns an ordinary true treasure armor, and his attack techniques were strong. To kill him, could it have been a universe master? Even if it wasn't a universe master, it must be one of the most powerful universe overlords. The 3 of them fell in silence. Flourishing Light Horde leader, Jufeng Knight, Peifeng Knight, and Qi Blood Palace leader were all considered normal universe overlords. There were some other powerful ones. For instance, there were special life forms of the universe overlord level with life genes level of 8,000 or 9,000 times. Their godly powers were purer those of normal universe overlords by 100 times. When launching attacks, their powers would be 100 times stronger, too. Furthermore, these powerful universe overlords would be obtaining even stronger true treasures. Their combat powers would certainly be extremely strong. With godly bodies that were massive in size, even if they were to go head-on with universe masters, they would be able to hold out for a long time. Going into the original star, there is always a risk of being killed. We had better banish that thought. If someone is able to defeat Flourishing Light, we, the purple smelting race, really cannot afford to offend them. The 3 universe overlords nodded in unison. We have to enlist help from the Northern Territory Alliance to resurrect Flourishing Light. Flourishing Light is a universe overlord. His resurrection is only possible at the hands of Main Master of Alliance. But Main Master's temperament is notorious. I'm afraid we have to wait for his mood to brighten up before we can ask him to help resurrect Flourishing Light. Elementary Universe Knights, Secondary Universe Knights, Senior Universe Knights, once they were annihilated, it would usually not take too long for them to be resurrected. If there was a delay, it would, at most, be 1,000 to 10,000 years. But in the case of universe overlords, things were not that simple. In the whole of the Northern Territory Alliance, only Main Master of Alliance had the ability to resurrect a universe overlord. Other universe masters were unable to do so. Even if the Main Master of Alliance was caught up in some other matters for billions of years, no one would dare make a single utterance. Heck, let's just submit our application to the Alliance. Then we will wait patiently. Agreed. When Flourishing Light comes back, we will know how he was annihilated. The original star was closing up on the land of origin of the universe. Cruising the sky of the original star, the feeling was wonderful. Luo Feng smiled while on the move, reminiscing about the battle earlier on. My first time going all out in a battle, the power is massive. Luo Feng was extremely satisfied with his power. It is unquestionably an ultimate technique of a universe master. The amount of godly power it consumes is alarming. If I did not have remote ocean body consistently supplementing me with energy, I think just that one stance alone would be enough to lose half of my godly body. Previously, in the Beast God sector, when Luo Feng and Ancestor were engaged in combat, he did not have to burn his godly body to become an undying body. When his body was not set ablaze, no matter how long he had to toil through a battle, he would not be consuming much of his godly power. However, in the battle of life and death, Luo Feng had to burn his godly body. Like Qi Blood Palace leader and Demon Sword Knight, when displaying their ultimate skills, they, too, would consume much of their godly bodies. And Luo Feng's ultimate technique of a universe master, Golden Light, was on a much higher level compared to those of Qi Blood Palace leader and Demon Sword Knight. Luo Feng's consumption of energy was unintentional, but after the Golden Light absorbed his godly power, it consumed more than half his godly body. Of course, remote ocean body was rapidly supplementing him with what was lost. What a large consumption. The force was insanely strong. Too strong, said Luo Feng. I could feel his ordinary true treasure armor becoming helplessly weak under my blade. If I were to just increase the strength of my attack by 1 level, I think I would have destroyed that true treasure. Luo Feng analyzed the situation himself. 9,800 times of the life gene's level, 100 times of godly power amplification. Luo Feng's godly body was not inferior to that of a general universe overlord. Even for the one and only special life forms, such as the world tree in the ancestral god secret region and the cold whale, they might be universe overlords, but their battling powers were comparable to those of universe masters. And their godly powers were purer than Luo Feng's by just 2 levels. But Luo Feng's ultimate technique of a universe master was stronger than those of the world tree and cold whale by 2 levels. The advantages he had in terms of his secret technique made up for the lack of godly power. The moment Luo Feng displayed his ultimate technique of a universe master, he would be comparable to the powerful special life forms of universe overlords. His true treasure armor was simply substandard, weakened to only half his power. Of course his godly body would be annihilated. If he had a senior true treasure armor, I guess, I might only have been able to injure him. To kill him, I would have needed a few more strikes. This exemplified the importance of armor. Even for universe masters, not many could achieve attacks that would bring force armor to its limit. 180 million years of cultivation has indeed brought me great success. Luo Feng nodded with satisfaction. He was highly accomplished in the studies of pictures of secret engravings, making the mastering of space laws a breeze. Although it had only been a few days since he left the Beast God sector, he already comprehended the final space law, which was none other than the mysterious and complex strangulation. Now, all he needed to do was combine 3 space laws, namely, teleportation, space sealing, and strangulation, into one. Then he would become a universe master. However, the final stage posed a small challenge to Luo Feng. Just like how some great beings were highly accomplished in space laws, yet were stuck in the final stage of the gold laws, Luo Feng was highly successful until now. He was slightly affected at his current stage. Just like Sitting Mountain Guest had said, a breakthrough could happen anytime, regardless of how slow he was. 1,000 years would be more than enough to become a universe master. When I become a universe overlord, my godly body will be comparable to powerful special life forms like world tree and cold whale. I will be even stronger in my techniques. By then, I will have to go all out in becoming a universe master. Luo Feng was secretly looking forward to this. By then, I will be able to make use of Star Tower readily. Luo Feng smiled, then continued flying. He was waiting for the next great being like flourishing light horde leader to make a move against him. Bring it on. I am the mobile treasury. Luo Feng smirked. In one of the hilly valleys amidst the deserted plains, 3 senior universe knights from the Thorn Ring Alliance were hiding. They were silently waiting for energy waves. Among them, Ji Chi Knight was appalled when he raised his head to look up at the sky. He immediately transmitted what he found aloud. Look, look. That is the human form of Luo Feng. Luo Feng. Are you referring to the human fellow who is always so lucky? The other 2 universe knights looked up with a jerk. The 3 looked very carefully and tried to make out who the figure was. Silver armor, silver wings, and a black-haired human form. It is him. It's the human form of Luo Feng. It's him. He has at least 6 true treasures on him. And that is definitely a soul-type true treasure, and even possibly a flying palace-type true treasure. He dares to come to the original star. This extraordinary genius really thinks he's invincible. Such arrogance. Arrogance is good. He is a mobile treasury in human form. But this human form of Luo Feng might have a strong backing. What backing? Even if there is a universe overlord in the word ring protecting him in secret, what can he do? The weeds around them kept them hidden from view. As they looked up at the figure flying across the sky, all 3 felt their hearts burning. The shortest yet sturdiest four-hoofed being transmitted his thoughts as the other two universe knights immediately lent him their undivided attention. We have to succeed. Our powers put together will be far stronger than his. Once he escapes, he will take off at a speed near light speed. Then we will not be able to catch up anymore. I have a plan, and I will make it a point to prevent him from escaping. The four-hoofed being started to transmit his voice, and the two universe knights listened to it carefully. The four-hoofed being finished the entire plan in less than 1 second, though they had been staring at Luo Feng, who was flying in the sky in silence. He was their prey, and it would be easy to get his true treasures. Get out. The four-hoofed being gave an order, but he was shocked after that. Two beings flew toward Luo Feng from two different directions. The four-hoofed being and Ji Qi Knight could see clearly that one of the beings who dashed at Luo Feng had a godly body that was more than 300 feet long with dozens of claws. His knees were covered with hair, and the green eye he had on his face was glinting with fierceness and greediness. As for the other, he looked like a human, but he was of bug race. He was lanky with blade-shaped hands. They are in the lead. Ji Qi Knight opened his eyes wide. They are from the Northern Territory Alliance. Our plan, another knight said anxiously. The four-hoofed being roared, forget the plan. Let's attack him. Three beams of light shot to the sky and flew toward Luo Feng. Both of the universe knights from the Northern Territory Alliance were nervous as well. The strange beast knight transmitted his growling voice. It's the bastards from the Thorn Ring Alliance. We were the ones who found Luo Feng first. Don't let them take him. Luo Feng is ours, shouted the lanky knight, clenching his teeth and looking fierce. Luo Feng was the calmest one. He flew leisurely in the sky and saw universe knights of other races flying toward him. He immediately identified them. Kubai Knight and Ba Xiao Knight from the Northern Territory Alliance. Ba Xiao Knight has an enormous godly body, much larger than the body of Flourishing Light Horde Leader, who I killed before. Flourishing Light Horde Leader is around 30 feet tall, but is over 300 feet tall. But I bet he doesn't have a true treasure armor. I can kill him with one move. Universe Overlord's godly bodies were not much better at defense than senior Universe Knights. Usually, Universe Overlords relied on their true treasure armor. Ordinary true treasure armors were enough when it came to attacks from ordinary Overlords. However, in the case of the World Tree, the Cold Whale, and Purple Rain Knight, ordinary true treasure armors wouldn't help much. Only senior true treasure armors, or their better, could protect one from being killed after one move. Of course, if one's godly body was over 600 miles long, like that of Golden Horned Beast body, he could survive longer even if he only had an ordinary true treasure armor. But if one didn't have an adequately sized godly body or senior true treasure armor, they would be walking toward their own demise if they were dealing with top-tier universe overlords like World Tree, Cold Whale, Purple Rain Knight, or Luo Feng. Of course, no one alive on the original stars knew of Luo Feng's real power. The only one who knew about it was already dead. They still thought of him as a human-shaped moving treasure vault. Another 3. Luo Feng glanced around. Ji Qi Knight, Zhu Ka Knight, and Zun Ya Knight from Thorn Ring Alliance. Are they all senior universe knights? Well, they're not a threat to me. Luo Feng waved his wing and sped up, starting to flee. He's running away. Don't let him run away. Quick! That direction. Kubai Knight and Ba Xiao Knight from the Northern Territory Alliance grew anxious. Though they were not afraid of the 3 great beings from the Thorn Ring Alliance, they only had 2 beings while the Northern Territory Alliance had 3. Besides, their power was at the same level. Luo Feng might be seized by the great beings from the Thorn Ring Alliance. Chase him. Hurry up. Let's separate and encircle him. The 3 knights from the Thorn Ring Alliance went 3 different ways and tried to outflank Luo Feng. Their speed surged. Both Time Law Domain and Space Law Domain arrived, and they started to stop Luo Feng. Want to run away? Ha ha ha. Luo Feng. You're coming to the original stars for your death. Kubai Knight grinned hideously, and a circle showed up around his hand. He threw it out, and the circle started to bulge. It dashed toward Luo Feng at light speed under the control of godly power. The three Universe Knights from the Thorn Ring Alliance also grew anxious, but they couldn't do anything, as the Universe Knight from Northern Territory Alliance had a spiritual force weapon. "Don't worry, that Luo Feng has a spiritual force weapon, true treasure," Ji Qi Knight said. They were relatively farther from Luo Feng, as they had taken off later. "That's right. Luo Feng has a spiritual force true treasure weapon. Want to catch me?" Luo Feng roared. Luo Feng held his right first, and stars showed up in the sky. All the 1,000 stars had tightly carved engravings on them, and they formed a gigantic beast god under the godly power. The beast god roared and raced toward that circle. The beast god's tail slashed at the circle. The circle bounced away, and it tried to charge Luo Feng again under Ku Bai Knight's control. It wanted to dodge beast god, who splashed it away again. Ku Bai Knight clenched his teeth. No wonder it's a spiritual force weapon, true treasure. It's so powerful. Ha ha ha. You can't run away. Vhio Knight made a rumbling voice and started to stop Luo Feng. Luo Feng turned around. The three Universe Knights from the Thorn Ring Alliance also started to approach Luo Feng from 3 different directions. 5 Universe Knights were encircling Luo Feng in the sky, and Luo Feng was like prey trying to flee. He manipulated his spiritual force weapon to resist his enemies. The power from the clash between 2 spiritual force weapons spread. Energy ripple. Fight? It must be a set treasure, or a true treasure. Quick, go there. The ripple attracted the great beings in distance, and Luo Feng was still trying to run away like a frightened bird. Quick! Stop him. Vhio Knight transmitted his voice. Beings from Thorn Ring Alliance. We've already attracted attention. Although the knights from other races are still far away from us, the longer we spend here, the more likely those other races will arrive here following the energy ripples. We won't be able to get anything if everyone's here. How about we cooperate with each other? Damn it. The 3 Universe Knights from Thorn Ring Alliance were all nervous, but Luo Feng was too swift. He was able to turn his direction and change his speed at will. And with that spiritual force true treasure weapon, the 5 failed to encircle him. Another reason for the delay was that the beings from the Thorn Ring Alliance and the Northern Territory Alliance were not cooperating. The 4-hoofed knight transmitted his voice. Okay, let's cooperate. Let's kill Luo Feng together, and as for his true treasures, we'll see how powerful we are. Okay, Vhio Knight agreed. They wouldn't divide the true treasures equally. After all, they were from different alliances. It would be a joke if they believed in equal distribution. The 5 Universe Knights officially formed an alliance. They started to block Luo Feng from different directions by encircling him. He now had less and less space to change direction. Besides, Ku Bai Knight and Ji Qi Knight had spiritual force weapons, which put Luo Feng in a worse situation. Suddenly, golden, tumbling waves showed up in the sky. They covered an area with a diameter of 19 million miles, enveloping those Universe Knights. It's a domain. It's a domain-type valuable. We can't catch him anymore. Ji Qi Knight shouted with haste. The resistance from the domain is not strong. It might only be a domain-type treasure, not even a top-tier treasure. Quick, catch him. All 5 Universe Knights were stunned by the endless waves, and Luo Feng took the chance to escape their encirclement. However, they quickly found out that the waves didn't have strong resistance, and it wasn't even a top-tier domain-type treasure. If it were a domain-type top-tier treasure, it would have been more valuable than an ordinary true treasure. The resistance is not strong. Catch him. All 5 Universe Knights returned to outflanking Luo Feng. Although the resistance was not strong, it made it much easier for Luo Feng to dodge and stall for him. Ha ha ha. Look. It's the human, Luo Feng. It's Luo Feng. Quick. 3 teams flew from different directions. It was difficult for them to see clearly what was going on in the waves, Yet Luo Feng was the one who moved the fiercest and most quickly. Although everything in the waves appeared blurry to them, they could tell which shadow was Luo Feng through the true treasure wing and the beast god formed by spiritual force weapons. The human Luo Feng came here as well. Look, it's the Thorn Ring Alliance. Ha ha ha. And Bhao Knight from the Northern Territory Alliance. No wonder they are trying to encircle him. It's the human, Luo Feng. Quick! Luo Feng has at least 6 true treasures. And one of them is a soul-type true treasure. Go! There were now a total of 8 Universe Knights in 3 teams. They rushed into the golden waves. In the waves from Nine Tiger River, Luo Feng was peaceful inside even though he appeared to be in a panic. Another 8, he thought. From the Demon Alliance, the 9 Territories Alliance, and the Bug Race Alliance. Oh? There's a Universe Overlord among them. Luo Feng nodded. 12 Senior Universe Knights and 1 Universe Overlord. Time to reel them in. Luo Feng finally manifested all his power. He burned his godly power infused in the Nine Tiger River. Gold Law Domain arrived at the same time, merging with the Nine Tiger River. The resistance within the golden waves became much fiercer and denser, as if it had transformed from harmless stream to strong glue. The resistance surged threefold, making it incredibly difficult for the 12 Senior Universe Knights to fly. Nine Tiger River was vast and mighty as it hovered in the area, occupying an area that was tens of millions of miles wide. With Luo Feng's godly power giving it the ultimate boost, especially now that Luo Feng was so highly accomplished in his techniques, merely the secret engraving sculpture of this Nine Tiger River posed no difficulty. He could easily decode the engravings to boost it to its limits. Its mighty power had ridiculously strong pressure, combined with Luo Feng's life gene level that was increased by 9,800 times and his godly power, which had been amplified 100 times. If Nine Tiger River were to undergo a complete boost with such conditions. If the 9 great beasts within the Nine Tiger River were to join forces, they could easily annihilate a secondary Universe Knight. Even if they were to attack as separate entities, one was more than enough to seriously injure a secondary Universe Knight. Falling into Nine Tiger River, even a senior Universe Knight would find it arduous to fly or move about. True treasure. It's a domain-type true treasure. That human form Luo Feng hid his true powers earlier on. He concealed the power of this domain-type true treasure. Ji Qi Knight used voice transmission to communicate with Zhu Ka Knight, who was nearby. The four-hoofed Zhu Ka Knight tried his best to make his way to Ji Qi Knight, but found his speed of flight absurdly slow. He used voice transmission out of anxiety, saying, "Why did that human form Luo Feng hide the power of his domain-type true treasure? If he released its power earlier on, he would have been able to escape from us easily. Yet, he didn't. What is his motive?" Ji Qi Knight and the four-hoofed being were flustered. The sudden surge in power of Nine Tiger River made them feel uneasy. They sensed something amiss. It's a trap. Yes, it must be a trap. We have to leave this domain quickly. Within this domain, the speed we are flying at is laughably slow. If a strong enemy appears, we will be defeated. Hurry. Hurry up. They were not confident, but taking risks on a place like the original star kept the knights of other races vigilant. Every single one had been blinded by their greed into a frenzy as soon as they saw Luo Feng. Out of 13 knights of other races, there were some who were still reluctant to give up, or still sought his treasures by seeking his human form. However, for most of them, now that they realized something was amiss, the immediate decision was to leave right away. In the middle of Nine Tiger River, Luo Feng stood in silence with his wings outspread. He had a bird's eye view of the entire Nine Tiger River, and knew every move the 13 knights of other races made. "Starting to panic," said Luo Feng. "Maintaining great vigilance. What a pity. You are too late." Luo Feng grasped the handle of his cutting pearl sword from behind and lightly drew it out. The cold blade met with no obstructions within the waters of the Nine Tiger River. He was in total control because this was Luo Feng's territory. By his side, a golden horned beast that was black all over was also hovering in midair, Golden horned beast body shall stay on the outside to attack, while I kill from the inside. Let no one escape. Luo Feng gave his orders silently. God beast, transform. Luo Feng and golden horned beast transformed at the same time. Golden horned beast's hooves and claws grew bigger and bulkier. Its head also changed. Other than its pair of wings, it looked just like a golden beast god. Luo Feng's human form was also changing. His godly body grew slightly taller. Scales began to appear on his skin, and his eyes glowed with a faint tinge of gold. Although his godly power amplification had reached the limit of 100 times, under the transformation to a beast god form, he was even more at ease as he carried out a slaughter, with the heart of beast god. Kill. Let's begin. Luo Feng made his move and swooped directly at the strongest one of the group trapped in Nine Tiger River, a universe overlord known as Parachopper Knight. Parachopper Knight was the calmest of the group trapped in Nine Tiger River. He was from the Bug Clan Alliance, but he was not originally from the Bug Clan. He did, however, enjoy a most respectable status, because he wielded great power. He was skilled in close combat, and was very powerful. Plus, his soul was naturally strong in defense. The only weakness he had was that his godly body was small. His height was a mere 2.5 feet. That was why he was very particular about defending his godly body. The most valuable thing on him was none other than a suit of senior true treasure armor. Once he sensed the great surge of power of Nine Tiger River, Parachopper Knight understood what was going on instantly. We have been tricked. It's a trap. Human form Luo Feng was the bait, purposely used to attract our attention, to get us to move nearer. His world ring must have universe overlords, or equivalent life forms hiding away. The situation is unfavorable to us here. We have got to leave right away. Parachopper Knight held onto a gigantic sword. He sliced through every obstruction in his way and flew off. His speed was the fastest. Parachopper Knight frowned. He sensed that the other races were near. Although he had unsettling feelings, he was not afraid. He did not sense that there were universe masters hidden in Luo Feng's world ring. And if there were no universe masters, common universe overlords did not pose a great threat to him. Within the human race, the most fearsome universe overlord, Heaven Erosion Palace leader, has since been spending his time hidden deep within the human race secret region. He rarely makes appearances. There is no news about Star Prison Devil Master's intentions to enter the original star. So other than 2 or 3 of the most powerful ones, universe overlords from the human race are nothing to fear. Parachopper Knight had just finished analyzing the situation when a golden light appeared before him. Its beauty was so enticing that it was soul awakening. This golden light came from the blade that sliced through the water surface of Nine Tiger River. Seemingly slowly and with an unrivaled gracefulness, the blade found its way to Parachopper Knight. With widening eyes, Parachopper Knight grew shocked and increasingly furious. He waved his huge sword with all his might, using his strongest skill, arbitration of fate. His huge sword was cast into the air, where it tumbled about in the golden river water. Icy cold, razor-sharp pain erupted as the golden blade hacked right through Parachopper Knight's godly body. This? What swordsmanship is this? He gasped, paralyzed with fear. This is more fearsome than any other universe overlord I have met in a long time. The swordsmanship was so beautiful that it was earth-shattering. It could certainly bring the limit of the path to a whole new level. A new limit of the law. The power of this one strike reached the limit of a senior true treasure armor straight away. Where the true treasure armor was supposed to weaken the impact of attacks to 1/10,000th of their power, this one strike was weakened merely to 1/1000th. In an instant, 62% of Parachopper Knight's godly body was consumed. Barely scraping through this strike, Parachopper was scared out of his wits. Even with my senior true treasure, more than half of my godly body was consumed, he said. Not good. He had no doubt that the next strike would take his life for sure. This poignant golden light from that blade would once again appear before him. Quick, escape. Parachopper Knight transmitted a shrill voice with his godly power. But under the glowing blade's next strike, Parachopper Knight's petite godly body was annihilated in an instant, leaving behind an exquisite true treasure armor that emitted a faint purple light suspended in midair. As for the world ring and huge sword, they had been cast into the distance a moment before. 2 strikes to kill him, thought Luo Feng. Seems like with my ultimate technique of a universe master, those universe overlords with senior true treasure armors will still be able to put up a tough fight. And this time, it was just a small godly body. If his godly body had been as big as the golden horned beasts, no matter how many thousands or tens of thousands of strikes I make, I'm afraid I still wouldn't have been able to kill him. Luo Feng was quick to realize his weak points. His swordsmanship was already very strong, but it barely surpassed the limit of a senior true treasure armor. Senior true treasure armors would still able to provide his enemies with an extremely strong defense. Oh? Starting to panic, said Luo Feng, looking around. Let's continue then. Luo Feng held his cutting pearl sword, his pair of wings spread wide open to form an arc shape as he charged toward another senior universe knight, his next kill. Yes, panic. Out of the 13 knights of other races trapped in Nine Tiger River, when the most powerful of them, Parachopper Knight, knew he was never going to make it past the second strike, his shrill transmission made the rest of the knights crazy with worry. Hurry up and escape. It's a trap. Even Parachopper Knight cannot ward off his strikes. Quickly escape. It's a great beast. Ah! Piercing shrieks were transmitted throughout Nine Tiger River with godly power as the medium. The aftermath of the fight came in rumbling waves. Compared to Luo Feng's cold, decisive, clean-cut swordsmanship, the golden horned beast was wild with fury, simply unstoppable. Roar! In sync with the looming roars, the hideous black beast god, the armored golden horned beast, lowered his head and charged forward at high speed. With one single collision, the longest horn on his head rammed hard into Ji Chi Knight's body. Ji Chi's eyes widened in fear, then, bam! His godly body was annihilated. With only a single top-tier treasure armor on him, there was simply no way he could put up any resistance against such an attack from golden horned beast. It's a trap. That human form of Luo Feng is only bait. There is a strong universe overlord who is much stronger than Parachopper Knight. He is after our lives, hurry. Hateful humans. Bitter and forlorn, sad and shrill, reluctant and begrudging, all sorts of roars rang out. Yet, with his cutting pearl sword in hand, Luo Feng, who had been beast deified, was cold-blooded as he roamed the sky above the Golden River. His cutting pearl sword cut through the universe knights one at a time. Under the poignant golden light of his blade, senior universe knights were annihilated one by one. Most of them were from other races that did not even have any ordinary true treasure armors. They did not have a shred of hope of warding off Luo Feng's advances. Luo Feng attacked from the inside out, but Golden Horned Beast worked in the opposite direction, attacking from the outside in. There was no way any of the universe knights of other races could escape. It was clear that these senior universe knights were moving at a snail's pace in Nine Tiger River, and the only one who was able to fly at a high speed, Parachopper Knight, had been the first to be exterminated. As for the remaining ones, all hope was lost. The number of knights of other races trapped in Nine Tiger River was consistently dropping. 8, 6, 3, 2, 1. Outside the mighty Nine Tiger River, the battle had attracted the attention of knights of various races who were slightly further away. As many as 6 teams of universe knights were already observing the situation within Nine Tiger River from a distance. Among these 6 teams of knights, there was a total of 15 knights and 1 universe overlord. It's a trap. He's just the bait. Quickly escape. Shrill voices were transmitted via godly power. A multitude of voices were transmitted all over, and the 6 teams of 15 knights of other races watching from a distance could not help but shudder. They watched on from afar. Their view was obscured by the massive river waters, so they could not clearly see what was going on. Yet, they could sense the happenings within Nine Tiger River. In the beginning, there had been a very strong sources of energy, followed by piercing screams and begrudging roars shouting, "Luo Feng is bait. It's a trap. Universe overlord. But a fleeting moment later, silence prevailed. All was dead silence. At this point, the 6 teams of knights of other races, all hovering in midair while watching the entire episode from afar, felt a hair-raising horror. They knew, every one of the knights trapped in there had lost their lives. A lone figure appeared in the middle of the golden, flowing river. He carried his battle sword on his back with a pair of wings outspread, and he sported a head of black hair. He was scanning the 6 teams of knights from thousands of miles away. At that moment, none of the knights dared make a sound. This video will end here.